The school bell rings, and a small figure stands at the entrance. A little boy, no more than 7 or 8, stands still for a moment, taking in the sight of the large building before him. His backpack feels heavy on his shoulders, the straps digging into his skin, but he doesn't complain. Today is his first day at school. He takes a deep breath and walks forward, his steps hesitant. He's nervous. Who wouldn't be? He's new here. All around him, kids are laughing, talking, and rushing to their classrooms. Some glance at him as he walks by, but he's too focused on making it through the day to pay much attention to them. When he enters the classroom, the noise dies down for a brief moment. All eyes are on him. He feels it, the stares. He knows they're sizing him up. Some kids whisper behind their hands. Others just look at him, their gazes sharp and curious. He doesn't know why they're looking at him like that. Maybe it's his clothes. Maybe it's his hair. Maybe it's the color of his skin. He stands there for a second, unsure what to do. The teacher notices him standing at the door. She smiles warmly and waves him in. "Welcome," she says. Her voice is kind, but the moment feels awkward. He smiles back, though it doesn't reach his eyes. He's already feeling out of place. The teacher tells him to find a seat. He picks a spot in the back of the room near the window. It's quieter here, but as he sits down, the whispers start again. Soft, but there. He lowers his head, trying not to notice. He wonders if he'll ever feel like he belongs here. At lunchtime, the boy grabs his tray of food and looks around. The cafeteria is filled with kids chatting and laughing. He doesn't recognize any of them, and the thought of sitting alone makes his stomach turn. Slowly, he walks toward a table in the corner. He's hoping to blend in, just be quiet and invisible. But as soon as he sits down, he feels the eyes on him. A group of kids at a nearby table start whispering, their voices too loud for him not to hear. He looks down at his food, trying to pretend he doesn't notice. One of the kids, a girl with messy hair and a loud voice, nudges her friend and points at him. "Look at his hair," she says, laughing. "It's like a mop." The boy feels his cheeks warm. He doesn't know how to respond. His hair is different from the other kids. It's curly and thick, nothing like the straight hair that most of them have. He's used to it, but hearing them laugh makes him wish he could hide it. The girl continues, her voice growing louder. "Why is his skin so dark? I thought all people were the same. I guess not." Her friends snicker. The boy tries to keep his head down, focusing on his food, but his hands are shaking and he can barely take a bite. He wishes he could just disappear, but the teasing doesn't stop. The girl's friend joins in. "He probably doesn't even speak English properly," she says, mocking an accent. "What's he even doing here?" The boy's stomach churns. He wants to stand up, tell them to stop, but he doesn't know how. His throat feels tight, and the words won't come. All he can do is sit there, fighting back tears, feeling smaller and smaller with every word they say. He looks around the room, but no one else is looking at him. Everyone else is too busy with their own lunch, their own conversations. It feels like no one cares. It's just him and the laughter ringing in his ears. The boy clenches his fists, trying to stay strong, but it's hard, very hard. The boy's heart races, his face burning with embarrassment. The teasing is getting worse, and he can feel the eyes of the other kids on him, even if they're not saying anything. He tries to focus on his food, but his hands are shaking too much to hold the fork properly. The laughter from the group echoes in his mind, drowning out everything else. Finally, something inside him snaps. He can't take it anymore. He looks up, his voice trembling. "Stop!" he says, louder than he intended. His throat is tight, and he wishes the words would come out more confidently, but they sound weak even to him. The girl who started all the teasing looks at him, her eyes full of mock surprise. "What?" she says, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "What are you going to do about it?" The boy feels a lump in his throat. He wants to stand up, shout, do something to make them stop, but he doesn't know how. He feels small, powerless, like there's no way to win. He's just one kid against all of them. He opens his mouth to say something else, but no words come out. The girl laughs again. "Aw, does the baby want to cry?" she teases. Her friends join in, and the boy can feel the sting of their words deep in his chest. He turns his face toward the window, trying to block them out. Maybe if he ignores them, they'll stop. But they don't. They keep laughing, louder now, feeding off each other's cruelty. The boy grips his fork tightly, but his hand is still shaking. He's about to get up and leave, to run away from it all, when he hears a voice, a deep, calm voice, cut through the noise. "Leave him alone." He freezes, his breath catching in his throat. Who said that? The boy looks up, his heart pounding. The teasing stops for a brief moment, but only because something has shifted in the air. The kids at the table glance behind him, their eyes widening. For a second, he doesn't know what's happening. Then slowly, he turns around. The door to the cafeteria has swung open. Standing in the doorway is his father. Tall, strong, with broad shoulders and a calm, steady presence that immediately fills the room. The boy's heart leaps at the sight of him. His father doesn't say anything at first. He just stands there, looking around the room with quiet authority. The noise in the cafeteria begins to fade. The children who had been laughing just moments ago go silent. The girl who had mocked him is now staring at the floor, her hand still clutching her tray, but no longer making fun of him. She seems unsure of what to do. The others look at each other, their faces uncertain, not daring to speak. His father doesn't even glance at the group of kids. He's not here for them. He's here for his son. The boy feels his chest tighten with a mix of relief and confusion. Why is his father here? Did he know what had been happening? The teacher, who had been sitting at a nearby table, stands up at the sight of the father. Her eyes dart nervously between him and the students. She doesn't know what to say either. The room is frozen in an uncomfortable silence, as if everyone is waiting for something to happen. The boy's father takes a slow, deliberate step forward. With each movement, the room grows quieter. The weight of his presence is undeniable. He's not rushing. He's not angry. There's no shouting, no drama, just calm, quiet strength. And everyone in the cafeteria knows it. The boy feels his father's gaze land on him. He doesn't speak, but the look in his eyes says everything. He's here. He's got this. The boy's father walks across the cafeteria with calm, steady steps. His shoes make no noise on the floor, but every movement he makes carries a quiet power. It's as if the entire room is holding its breath, waiting for him to say something, do something. But he doesn't rush. There's no panic in his movements, no need to prove anything. He walks right past the kids who were laughing just moments ago, his eyes briefly meeting theirs. They shift uncomfortably under his gaze, but he doesn't stop to look at them longer than necessary. When he reaches the boy's table, he pauses. The boy can feel the weight of his father's presence next to him, and for the first time all day, he feels a little safer. His father doesn't sit down, he doesn't speak. He just stands beside him, a strong, silent figure that seems to fill up the entire space around them. The boy looks up at his father, and their eyes meet. His father's gaze is steady, filled with something the boy can't quite explain: strength, love, protection. Without a word, his father places a hand on his shoulder. The touch is firm but gentle, as if to say, "I'm here, and you're not alone." The kids at the other table have stopped laughing, but they're still watching. The girl who mocked him earlier shifts uncomfortably in her seat. Her face is red now, and her eyes dart around the room, avoiding his father's gaze. It's like they all suddenly realize they've gone too far. The boy's father looks at them for a moment, but he doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. His presence speaks louder than any words could. The tension in the air thickens, and the other kids can feel it. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to act around someone who doesn't need to raise his voice to be heard. The boy feels the weight of the silence, but it's not the same as before. It's not uncomfortable anymore. It's different. Calm, controlled, powerful. His father stays silent, but somehow it's enough. The boy's father doesn't need to say anything. He doesn't raise his voice or scold the children. He doesn't even ask them why they've been cruel. His presence alone is enough to make them think twice. It's a power that's silent, but undeniable. The cafeteria feels different now. The teasing, the laughter, the whispers, all of it seems to vanish into the air. The kids who had been so loud just moments ago now sit quietly, shifting in their seats, unsure of what to do. They're not looking at the boy anymore, and they're not looking at his father either. They're all just avoiding the situation, pretending like it never happened. They've learned in a single moment that respect can't be demanded. It has to be earned. The boy's father still doesn't speak. He just stands there, watching the room, watching his son, watching the others. His calm confidence is like a shield, protecting the boy from further harm, without ever needing to raise a fist or shout. There's a weight to it that the other kids can't ignore. The girl who mocked him earlier suddenly looks embarrassed, her face flushed with regret. She fidgets with her napkin, not daring to look up. The boy looks at his father and feels a strange sense of pride swelling in his chest. His father hasn't said a word to him directly, but the way he stands, the way he carries himself, it says everything. It's as if his father is silently telling him, "You are worthy of respect. You don't need to fight for it." There's no need for loud words. There's no need for confrontation. His father's quiet confidence is enough to send a message that everyone in the room understands. The boy feels a little taller now, even though his father hasn't said a thing to him. He doesn't feel as small anymore. It's a lesson that will stay with him long after the day is over. The room is still, the quiet hanging in the air. The boy can feel it, the change. The teasing has stopped. The laughter that once filled the room is gone, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. It's like the entire cafeteria is holding its breath, unsure of what will happen next. The kids at the other table don't dare to laugh anymore. They look down at their trays, avoiding the boy's eyes. The girl who had mocked him is staring at her food now, her hands still, her face flushed with embarrassment. She doesn't say anything else. Neither does her friend. The whole table seems to shrink into themselves. Their voice is gone. The boy looks around. His classmates who had been silent before are now looking down or out the window, their faces blank, not daring to make eye contact with him. Even the teacher, who had been sitting at the front, is now standing at the counter, pretending to be busy with something. No one wants to say the wrong thing. No one wants to make a move that might anger the boy's father. It feels like time has stopped, the moment stretching on as everyone waits for someone to break the silence. But no one does. No one moves. No one speaks. The boy takes a deep breath, a small sigh escaping his lips. For the first time that day, he feels like he can breathe. He doesn't have to fight back. He doesn't have to shout. His father's quiet strength has already done all the work. The bullies don't speak. The kids who watched, who didn't laugh but didn't stop it either, now look away, their faces unreadable. They've realized that the boy isn't someone to be mocked. And somehow, they've learned a lesson without anyone saying a word to them. The boy glances up at his father, who still stands by his side. His father's eyes meet his, and for a brief moment, they share an understanding. No words are needed. The silence, this calm, has settled over them all. The boy's father stands there for a few more moments, letting the weight of his presence fill the room. The tension lingers, but it's different now. It's not the same uncomfortable silence that followed the teasing. This silence is more like respect, as if everyone in the room is trying to process what just happened. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, his father takes a step back. Without saying a word to anyone, he turns and walks toward the door. His steps are measured, confident, like he's done his job and there's no more need for words. He doesn't look back at the kids, and he doesn't need to. The boy watches his father walk out of the room, the door clicking shut behind him. It's strange. He feels a little lost now that his father is gone, but at the same time he feels stronger. It's like something has shifted inside him. He's not the same boy who walked in this morning, unsure and nervous. He's different now. The presence of his father, without ever needing to say a word, has left a mark on him. The kids in the cafeteria don't speak. They all remain in their seats, the silence stretching on for what feels like an eternity. No one dares to break it. They know what just happened, and maybe, deep down, they understand. The boy takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. He's still holding his lunch tray, his hands not shaking anymore. The world hasn't changed completely. There's still a long way to go before things feel normal again. But for now, the teasing has stopped. His father's presence, though quiet, has made sure of that. The boy slowly stands up, pushing his chair back. He doesn't need anyone's approval. He doesn't need to fight back. He feels stronger now. He knows that when the world gets tough, sometimes quiet strength is all it takes. The next few days at school are different. The teasing that once followed the boy everywhere is gone. The kids who used to laugh at him don't seem to look his way anymore. They don't whisper behind his back. The cafeteria feels quieter, almost too quiet, as if everyone is still holding their breath from that moment when his father stood in the doorway. The boy walks down the hallway with his head held higher than before. His steps feel a little more sure, his shoulders a little straighter. It's like a weight has been lifted from him. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder anymore. He doesn't have to wonder if today will be the day someone makes fun of him again. The kids in his class don't approach him. They don't tease him, but they don't talk to him either. It's as if they're unsure of how to act now. The respect they've learned isn't something they know how to express. They've stopped mocking him, but they're still distant. Still unsure. The boy isn't bothered by it. He understands. What matters is that the teasing has stopped. What matters is that, for the first time, he doesn't feel small. He doesn't feel invisible. He's not the target anymore. And in a way, the silence around him feels like a small victory. Every day, as he walks through the hallways, he feels stronger. His father's lesson has stayed with him. Strength doesn't always need to be loud. It doesn't need to be forceful. Sometimes quiet confidence is all it takes to change everything. The boy knows that things won't always be easy. There will be challenges ahead, maybe more teasing, maybe more moments when he feels alone. But now he carries something with him. The quiet power of his father's strength, a reminder that he's worthy of respect, no matter what.